Hello guys, today we're joined by Gabe Green, current UFC fighter who's fought the names of Brian Battle, Ian Machado Curry, and others. Uh, Gable, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
So, what's life for you? What's life like for you right now?
Pretty chill, man. I went and got Santa Claus pictures done for my baby.
I think you could pull that off yourself. Could
You
have
know,
done some DIY stuff.
I I used to dress up as Santa Claus and then go spar and like roll around in jiu-jitsu too. So I've done it. I've done it before.
So, growing up, what was that like for you? Did you come from a rough background?
Uh, I mean, not super rough, like I was blessed with a good family, supportive family. They talk a lot of crap, but besides that, it's not too bad. We weren't rich, but we weren't super struggling, or at least my parents did a really good job of not letting us realize that we were poor.
Did they try masking that for you?
We said what?
Did they try masking that for you to, think you were better off than you actually were?
Yeah, I mean, I think they did they like there was never a thought in our mind that we were like super struggling or anything. I think my parents did a really good job of making things seem like everything was good.
So what type of background did you come from?
Like what do you like ethnically or
Just growing up.
um it's I'm a pretty mixed individual. Like my dad's a lot of things, my mom's a lot of things. So I don't really kind of see myself as any kind of one racial thing, culturally. I kind of get along with everybody. 'Cause my dad's like Mexican and Nicaraguan and Native American and black, and my mom's Italian and Slavic and Greek. So it's like, yeah, I'm a mutt, and this like America is America with its like melting pot thing, and I'm just kind of like a living, breathing,
So you rep
representation of that.
you represent the whole world when it comes to your fights.
Yeah.
So was sports a big part of your life early on?
You said what was that?
Was sports a big part of your life early on in your
What
career?
sport? My mom put us in, me and my brothers in baseball, football, and basketball. And then she kind of just like let us pick whatever one we wanted to play. So I played all of those. I think I liked football the most, and I played a little bit of football. But then I got sick, so I didn't really play anything. I like stopped doing everything.
So how did you get into fighting then?
When I was in high school, I only went to high school my junior and no, the end of my sophomore year, and then I went the full junior and senior year because I was homeschooled before that. And I started kind of watching YouTube videos on how to fight, and I would hit my punching bag in the backyard. And then after that, I wanted to see if I actually knew how to fight because I would hit the bag. So I kind of would just like I would try to avoid fights, but if anyone wanted to fight me, I was more than happy to fight people because I wanted to test to see if me hitting the bag actually made me better. And the only way to test to see if you can fight is to fight people. So I kind of just started fighting people in school because of that. And then yeah, I mean, I guess I was good at it. And then one of my friends actually saw me fighting in a parking lot. And then after we graduated, he hit me up because he started actually training at a gym and told me or asked me if I was down to come with him to his MMA gym. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's roll. And then, yeah, as soon as I got into an actual gym and was training, the rest is kind of history.
So do you think you were blessed genetically when it came to fighting with your power or your chin or something?
Absolutely not. Like I said, I was sick, right? So between the ages of, or like, I went to regular school from fifth grade or all the way up to fifth grade, and then sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and tenth, I was homeschooled, and I was homeschooled because I was sick and I couldn't like exercise, I couldn't do anything. I was just laying in bed going in and out of the hospital. And then once I got like God's grace came upon me and kind of healed me for some reason. Because it was like the medicine wasn't working. One day I just kind of was better. After that, I decided I was gonna take my life by like by my hands, and was gonna just try to be as healthy as possible. And I created the like whatever athleticism you see in front of you today was just created from hard work and dedication from a bunch of years of just going really hard and trying to make sure my body wasn't being taken for granted anymore. Because like when I was playing football before and I was little, and like when I was like 6 or 7, before I got sick, I was like having asthma attacks while I was bear crawling, going around for warm-ups. I was not in any kind of good shape whatsoever. And now I got really good cardio. So
So
yeah,
how did that
it's
transformation
not
happen for you?
I literally, as soon as I got okayed by the doctor to work out, I just decided I'm gonna work out every day. And then that was it. I just worked out every day.
What were you suffering from specifically?
While I was sick, it went completely undiagnosed. They had no idea why I was sick. I was just sick, and they literally never found out what was causing anything. They were just giving me medicine and trying to make me feel better, but nothing worked until one day I was just better.
So what ages was this from? Because, it impacted you a lot earlier on.
Yeah, from sixth grade, so that's like, I don't know, like 12-ish till probably like 16 from Yeah, from like 11 or 12 till I was like 16.
So what were your early amateur and pro fights like?
Uh, they're fun. My first amateur fight was the only fight I ever sat on a stool for. Every other fight after that, I just stood up in between rounds. And the only reason I sat on a stool in between rounds that fight was because they brought it out and I never fought before. So yeah, after that, I asked my coach, like, do I have to sit on a stool? And he was like, no. I was like, all right, let's never do that again. So if you watch any of my fights, I never sit down in between rounds.
Because from what I've seen, like in your early fights, it was like Kimbo Slice's street fights. You know what I mean?
Uh, like the early fights, like when I was
Yeah,
in the parking lots, yeah, no,
yeah.
those were, yeah, those were just those weren't well, I guess they were street fights. They weren't like actually on my record or nothing. But yeah, I had those. They basically were just background stuff. I also joined before I went pro, when I was still amateur, when the very beginning of me actually training at a gym, I kind of joined this underground fight club, and they met the last Sunday of every month. And I'd go have like 5 or 6 fights. I think sometimes the most I ever had was like 8. I'd have 8 fights in one night against whoever else the other guys showed up. And some guys would wear boxing gloves, some guys would wear small gloves, some guys would wear shin guards, some guys wouldn't wear shin guards, some guys would wear headgear, some guys wouldn't wear headgear. But I would just fight whoever was down to fight. That was a lot
And
of
that wa-
fun.
and that was like full rule MMA.
Sometimes it was MMA, sometimes it was just kickboxing. It was just kind of whatever they decided. We literally just met in this warehouse behind a strip club the last Sunday of every month, and everyone would just meet up. And it was like 4 dudes would just go around and find a bunch of guys to represent them. So I was representing one guy, and his friends would go to find other guys to represent them, and they would it's just old dudes. They're probably betting on us. They were just having whoever they could find fight each other. And I mean, it was fun. It gave me a bunch of experience. Like I said, I just had a bunch of fights in one night.
So, Did, as a fighter, did you just like learn on the spot, since you had a lot of street fights and all that, or was it more professional? Like you
I
came from a
think
wrestling background or something?
I no wrestling background whatsoever, no jujitsu background, no grappling whatsoever. Uh, but I mean, I picked it up pretty quickly, and then I just didn't leave the gym. I spent a lot of time training when everyone else would leave. I would stay and do more, and I think that's what kind of accelerated my growth. Not because I was really good at it, but just because I was willing to put more work in than everybody else.
So what was the hardest part of coming up in this sport?
Uh, I don't mean nothing in particular. I think the hardest part of anything would probably it was life outside because I was still in college and I was working and I was trying to be an MMA fighter. So uh it was just that like I had to go to school. So and I had to get good grades and I was like passing my classes and then I had to show up for work. So that was the hardest part. The hardest part was just maintaining a life outside of fighting because I wanted to be all in on fighting.
So was there no alternative options for you, or were you just dedicated to being an MMA fighter?
No, I mean there was tons of options. I was like in school for pre-med. I was going to school to be a doctor. I got good grades. I was ready to do that. And if not that, I always figured I was just gonna open up a business or two and do that. It's not like I was reliant on fighting. I just really liked to fight, so that's what I wanted to do.
So how come you didn't choose to be a doctor or nothing since you were training to be that? What
As I
about
just
MMA called you?
I just loved fighting, so that's what I wanted to do. I know that even if I retire at 40 or if I retire at 35, I still can go back to, there's no rule about being an old doctor. I can go back to school and finish that up if I want and go become an MD if I really wanted to. But you can't be a fighter you can't do the opposite. I couldn't spend time trying to be a doctor and then go be a fighter later. I needed to be a fighter right now if I wanted to be a fighter right now. So that's what I chose.
So, earlier on in your career, what were you doing to support yourself financially?
I was working for the city. I was working with kids doing like after school programs. And then I was doing that and then I started just training people a little bit and doing some fitness stuff for money.
So, how did you initially get into the UFC when you got that call?
They actually called me twice. They called me the first time, but it was the day after I had shoulder surgery on my left shoulder. I had won a championship belt. I knocked out a guy who was 7-0, and then the UFC that really caught the UFC's eye. And so they called me, my coach, well, they called my coach. My coach calls me and says, hey, the UFC wants you to come fight. They want me to fight Gilbert Burns. So they want you to fight Gilbert Burns in a couple weeks. And I was like, well, that sucks. And he's like, yeah, I know. You just had shoulder surgery. And I was like, yeah. He he's like, so I told them no because we just had shoulder surgery, but I'm gonna keep that relationship open and hopefully we can get you in. So then did shoulder surgery, did rehab, was getting back in there, and my coach was keeping a line open with them. But then COVID happened and COVID shut down everything. And then my coach was still kind of keeping the line open with them. And then eventually they called again and they're like, we need someone to fight. It was Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. And they said, we need someone to fight on Saturday. Can you be here and make weight by Friday? And I hadn't trained in like almost 2 years at this point because I had the shoulder surgery and all the recovery and all that. And then
Oh,
COVID shut down everything. So, yeah, 2 years off the couch, basically. I came and fought a guy on 4 days' notice.
so how much weight did you have to cut since you weren't in camp or nothing?
Mm, Not, I always fought at 55, and then that fight was at 170, and I was walking around at like, I don't know, 77.
Oh,
So
okay.
it wasn't anything. Yeah.
So, you've spoken a lot about loss in your life. So, how did that impact you?
About what?
How did how did your losses impact you as a fighter?
Losses are great. They teach you a lot about yourself. They teach you um, a lot of truths in life because a lot of times we plan for something, and just because you're planning and just because you're doing it really, really hard doesn't always mean it's going to come out the way that you want it to. And that's fine because no matter what you want, God's gonna, or whatever, no matter what happens, God's gonna use whatever happens for his plan and your betterment no matter what. And I fully believe that. So I really don't struggle with anything.
And during your career, you suffered a lot with injuries. So how much do you think that's been holding your career back?
Yeah, I mean, I've had shoulder surgery on my left arm, shoulder surgery on my right arm now. I've torn my LCL on my right knee. I've torn my LCL or my ACL on my left knee and my LCL on my right knee. And then busted some fingers, broke some hands, broke some ribs,
So what's holding you
torn.
together at this point?
Yeah, just God's will, man. But yeah, I mean, things happen and things don't always go to your plan the way you plan, like I said, and but it's fine because I know that everything is happening the way they should be happening. I just kind of let God take control and just guide me where I'm supposed to go, and then I could look at it as a setback, but I know at the end of the day, I'm always going to be exactly where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. So I just let it be.
So having all those injuries, does that how much of an impact does that have on you on your mentality?
Nothing. I act like I'm made of steel still. I don't, I've been broken, but I think I get broken more than anything just because I push too hard. I probably should push a little less hard, but I don't like go in the cage and think like, oh, what if my knee breaks or what if my hand breaks? I go in there and I go try to win. I'm not worried about really anything else.
So does that not like mess you up like thinking, oh yeah, my shoulder's injured, I'm gonna be out for this amount of time now?
No,
Because as
yeah,
a fighter, you wanna be fully healthy, you know what I mean?
no, like I said, I know that everything happens for a reason, and I mean, going into a fight, I'd rather be 100%. You can't always be 100%, but I try to be as close to 100% as possible. And then, like, if I'm too injured to fight, then I know I'm too injured to fight, and then that's just what it is.
So when you actually got the call from the UFC, who was it? Actually, because I don't think, what was it actually Dana White calling you?
No, it wasn't Dana White. It's usually the matchmakers are calling. And it was they wanted me to fight D-Rod.
So after you fight on the card, where do you actually go after that? Do you have like a special spot for the fighters?
Uh, yeah, no, they kind of just pack you up and tell you that they take you back to the fight hotel or wherever you're staying, and then they're like, all right, good fight. Granted, like if you lose, you're out right away. If you win, you gotta go do a couple different press meetings. So go and then also sign. You have to either like sign your shirt or sign your short. You gotta give the UFC something and sign it. And then yeah, then you talk to a couple people about your win and they interview you a couple times. But then after that, yeah, they just kind of send you back to the fighter hotel and it is what it is.
So they don't have like a fighter section where like you could just chill after the fight.
No, no, at least not right now.
Is that not like, feel a bit shit for you because, you're like, I just fought for you guys and, I can't even stay.
Nah, I'm trying to hang out with my family anyway, so I don't really care.
So, how do you process losses now compared to earlier in your career?
Before I kind of used it as fuel in the fire, and I was just like, this is never gonna happen again. This is never gonna happen again. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get better. And now it's a little different. Now I'm a lot closer to God, and I accept what He has made happen, and I just look for what lesson He wanted me to learn by taking the loss so that I grow from the experience. So both ways I grow for the experience, but before just my mentality of the why was for myself before, and now the why is to be better, not for myself, but be to be better to kind of represent God and his kingdom, and be a better person for way more than just inside the cage, you know?
Yeah. So, you've had a long layoff after that Brian battle fight. So, what was the reason for that?
Yeah, I tore my LCL, I tore my ACL, and then I was scheduled to fight James Yontop. And 2 weeks before I was supposed to fight him, I tore my LCL. So it was just two knee tears, uh, back to back. One, and then a year of recovery. And then I was getting ready for the next one, and then boom, another year of recovery.
So, how did that actually happen? Injuring yourself.
Um, yeah, I mean, I can't remember the ACL. I don't remember an actual thing that made it happen. Um, the LCL though, on the other one, the right before the James one, I remember going up to we were doing jujitsu and our legs were entangled a little bit and I was kind of I swept him and as I was coming up to get on top of him my knee just popped like he wasn't going for a heel hook, he wasn't trying to do nothing. I actually kind of swept the other dude and was stepping on top of him and just as I was pulling myself up it just popped. I think I just was overtraining and uh my tire just blew because I was pushing it too hard.
So, do you have you learned from that? But do you still trade similar to how you traded before? Do you trade less hard now
Yeah, I
because of that?
definitely let my body chill out a little bit more than what I was doing before. I think it's important. And the closer I got to God, I realized that uh in the Bible they speak of the Sabbath, and the Sabbath is a day of rest, and it's a day of rest because we need it. We're not machines. We can't go forever. Our bodies have to have time to rest. And when you are doing when you're not giving your body time to rest, you are trying to take everything into your own power and put everything into your own hands. You're not giving God the time to just kind of control things and you're so worried that things are going to fall apart that you're not trusting God. But I trust God now. I trust that when I take a break and I give my body healing like he wants me to, that everything's going to be there when I get back. And that's why I don't even worry about injuries anymore or anything because I know regardless, I'm always going to be where I'm supposed to be at the right time, like I said earlier.
So, do you think your faith helps you keep you grounded as a fighter a lot, and as a person?
Yeah, 100% my faith is it just makes life so much easier to go through. I have peace all the time.
So, outside the octagon, when did you start getting involved with all the charitable stuff you've been doing?
Since 2021, I couldn't do it in 2020 because of the shutdowns and stuff. But I've been doing a toy drive since 2021. I just like helping people and you get a little bigger checks when you're in the UFC, so I had some extra money and I could really help people. So I started organizing a toy drive. I try to get as many donations as possible. Uh, and then of course I go and spend my own money and buy a bunch of stuff too.
So, you've been in the UFC for quite a while now. So, how is the payment like for you now as a fighter? How much are you getting paid for your fights?
Uh, I mean, I'm getting paid a decent amount. I'm actually up for a contract negotiation right now, so hopefully whenever right before my next fight goes, I can get me a little bit more, but I get an okay amount.
So, how does it actually change the tiers for a fighter in the UFC? So,
It
how does
really
it
depends
change?
on, yeah, it depends on one, how much people like you, like your fan base is going to give you a little bit more
Yeah.
negotiation power when it comes time to getting more money. And then two, just like how you've been performing. Like if you get finishes, then obviously you can probably ask for a little bit more money. But if you've been losing or if you've been losing, you might just get cut and they won't even renegotiate. But if you've also been doing some really boring fights that nobody likes to watch, then your negotiation power is way down. There's not like a set schedule. The only set schedule for things are like the Venom um sponsorship. After every so many fights that you're in, they pay you a little bit more. I don't even know what it is off the top of my head, but they give you a little bit more every couple of fights.
So, as a kid, who was the toughest person you had to deal with?
The toughest person I had to do was probably my older brother, man. That guy was kind of mean.
So, how many siblings do you have?
I got an older brother, a little brother, and a little sister.
So, do you think having a lot of siblings in the house makes you tougher as a person?
Uh, I don't know about having a lot of siblings, but definitely my older brother made me a little bit more tough for sure.
So, is there any moments looking back in your career that just make you shake your head?
Uh, yeah, I mean, there's things that I wish I would have done better. I think that I've gone into fights with not the greatest game plan sometimes. And I've lost fights not because I was outskilled, but just because my game plan wasn't as good as the other person. And so like I could say I'd like to go back and I wish I could go fight those ones again. But at the same time, those losses made me who I am today, and I really enjoy the person I am today. So I really wouldn't change anything.
So, you had that tough loss to Brian Battle. So, up to that point where you got knocked out, you were pushing the pace, you were doing good. So, what was your game plan? What would your game plan have been going into
So
that fight?
he's significantly bigger than me, right? He's taller than me, longer than me, and then I also uh I fought him. I was weighing like 172 the entire fight camp. So I made weight by taking a piss that morning. Like I didn't have to cut anything. I was eating food all week, right? And he missed weight. He missed weight. I think he weighed in like 173 or 174. So he weighed in more than I had been the entire camp, right? So he's just a lot bigger than me. And with that, um, and from what we watched, he wasn't the greatest in the pocket. So he was bigger, he was better at range. So me staying at range just wasn't going to be a smart idea because that's where he's the most comfortable. And he's so much longer than me that it was going to be difficult for me to get inside. So the plan was for me to get all the way inside and then work from there. But I actually like hit his chin and wobbled him. He threw a shot. I think he tried to parry my one of my punches, and I just kind of went around it, looped it, touched his chin, and it wobbled him, and he went against the fence. And then that's where I became a little more what's the word? I lacked
Reckless.
discipline. I lacked, yeah, because I saw that he wobbled, so I was just like, oh, all right, I got him. And then I started punching him. And then I was doing good, I was landing shots. And then it's so funny because there is a time I feint my left hand, and when I feint my left hand, his eyes are closed and he's like this with his chin open, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna knock him out. Like, here's my shot. And then that's when I really became uh I lacked discipline. I feinted the shot and I got so excited about the shot that I was gonna land that I never brought the left hand back to my face. I was
And
just
that
like,
opened you up
oh.
for the counter.
Yeah, and then so I never brought it back. I saw his chin and I was like, oh, I'm gonna knock you out. And my hand got pretty close, and then over the top, his just land first. So it's the craziest thing because I'm literally in my head going like, oh, I'm gonna knock this guy out. And then I open up my eyes and the ref is like telling me not to get up. And I was like, are you serious? I thought I was gonna knock him out right now, and he got me first. But it just kind of happens sometimes when you're inside, especially if you try to stand toe to toe with someone who's just like, bigger than you. Just that wasn't, I should have like angled off to the side or shot, done that. I just, yeah, when I touched them and I wobbled them a little bit, I got a little too excited. And then yeah, then when I hit the feint, I got super excited and I didn't bring my hand back to my face and then I got caught.
So, how come you decide to fight at your natural weight class? How come you don't decide to like put more weight than you do since, other fighters do that and that'll put you at a weight disadvantage?
Because I was getting away with it. I had wins. I was on a win streak before I lost to
Brian Battle.
I lost to Gary in a competitive fight, and Gary's huge, and I lost the battle. But before those two fights, I was on a win streak. I had a knockout, and then I beat Roe too, and Roe's like even taller and even longer. So uh, if Phil Rowe's got like an 80 something inch reach and is like 6'4", 6'5", right? So I beat guys at 170, you know? And so that because I beat guys at 170, I was like, yeah, I can compete with these guys. It doesn't matter that I'm smaller. I can kind of just fight right here at this weight and not even have to cut. Uh, but it does make my life a lot harder in the sense that there's this range that I have to get past where it's really risky because they can hit me and I can't hit them. And every time I'm in a position where I can hit them, they can pretty much hit me because of the lack of reach that I have compared to them. So and then losing those seat and then going back to God's plan and everything. I don't think we would talk about me going back down to 55 because most of my fights out of the UFC were 55. I've had the majority of my fight career has been at 55. But when I took that first fight and won at 170 for the UFC and I did good, I started fighting there and not cutting anymore. And we've said like we should probably cut down to 55, but I really wasn't even gonna. I was winning, so I really was like, yeah, I'll go back to 55 when I start losing again. And then I lost two in a row, and I was like, all right, maybe we should go back to 55. And then, I go 55 and I get a good win against Camilos, and that's probably where I'm gonna stay because realistically, I mean, 55ers walk around heavier than me. 55ers walk around
Yeah.
at like 185, and I walk around at like 170, between 170 and 175. So even 55ers walk around heavier than me. There's no reason for me to fight at 170, honestly.
Brian Battle missed up weight. I mean, he missed the weight limit with your fight. So do you think as a fighter missing weight, shows you lack discipline, or do you understand that? It's hard to cut weight.
No, I mean, I think guys should. I wish guys didn't cut weight. I wish guys just kind of showed up and fought. That would be way better. But yeah, if you're a fighter and it's your job to make weight, you should go make weight. Like they're you signed the contract to do so. It's your job. Go do it.
So were you surprised when you got cut from the UFC because of that? Or do you think,
No, I mean it's you can't just miss weight, you know? He missed weight multiple times. Like I think it was three or four times. You can't miss that like that many times, man.
so, one last question for you though. You have such a large audience. So what advice would you have for the younger generation?
Mostly first and foremost, just put everything in God's hands. Try to stick by what He has planned for you. Don't really worry about anything else because He wants you to be, uh, he wants abundance in your life and He wants you to succeed. He wants to walk with you and just be with you. And turning to Him is going to be the best thing you'll ever do. So I say just submit to God, and just accept Him and live a life of peace and abundance, man, because that's what He has waiting for you.
Thanks so much for your time, Gabriel Green. It was good talking to you, and I'd love to have you on again sometime.
Yeah, man, just let me know.